Welcome, everybody, to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Daniel chapter 11, verses 34 to 45. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your head. Father, thank you for getting us on this Monday, as today looks like we're finishing Daniel chapter 11, finishing some more context of this vision we got into. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So last time what we had gone through from verse 20 all the way to 33, and what we had gone through was kind of just pretty much the same thing, going through these different empires, then talking about a little bit about the end times, but we did have some confirmation because as we read all the way in verse, where was it? There we go. Indignation against the Holy Covenant. We did get a little bit more confirmation that we are talking about the Roman Empire, specifically in this section that we are reading, and about after the Roman Empire is actually gone and the Roman Catholic Church, how they took over without having to battle or anything, and how they had literally just with flattery, so with smooth talking, were able to take over, which the only empire that's ever happened to was the Roman Empire, which got taken over by religion of Catholic Church. So as we are going through this, we noticed a couple things that are pointed out. For one, it was saying that what is it? Great army, king of the south, stirred up the battle. No. Oh, when we got into the end part, in his estate shall end up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. So it was never really considered the Roman Catholic Church's kingdom. That worked out with that too, being that matching it. So that's what we basically went through. And now with the last few parts, what we're pointing out is that for the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return, and indignation against the Holy Covenant. So he's going to have a problem with the Christianity of the covenant of Christ. And to them, and he's gonna return and have intelligence with them. So he's going to be smart with them, with the people who forsake the Holy Covenant. So we had a combination of the people that were fake Christians or people not really following Christ being in a covenant or an agreement with this false teacher who takes over a kingdom without having the honor of being a king and takes over it peacefully. And then the last part it pointed out, and so the ones that already were doing wickedly against the covenant, he would be able to corrupt. But the ones that actually know God are going to be able to stand strong and do exploits. And the very last part that we read about, it pointed out that the ones that actually understand among the people are going to be able to instruct a lot of people. But they're still going to fall by the sword and by flame and be taken captive, and they're going to be taken out in many different kinds of ways. Not all of them being unto death, but long story short, it's not going to be successful, at least at that time, for those of that covenant. So now today I'll go switch it to our first section so that Thomas can read. And go ahead when you're ready.
That's super blurry on my end. Might just be my connection.
Might be. But
Hold on.
use the other
Okay,
Bible
switch
app
over
if
real
needed.
quick.
You're going to read 34 to 38.
Yeah, 1 second, guys.
Mm-hmm. And just a heads up, guys, I would say in future reference, always have two things open. You guys know that sometimes the signal goes with Zoom to where you can't really see it as clearly. Always have two open. Have the regular Bible app and have the Zoom app. so you can follow along with the Zoom. But if you ever need to read, you can just switch over real quick and you're already set up.
All right. I'll be reading Daniel chapter 11, verses 34 through 38. Give it a couple seconds. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. And some of them understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation of the accomplishments, and indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his father knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. All right. Going back to 34 real quick. Let me just read that one more time. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be toppled with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. Let me just see what toppled mean real quick.
Okay.
Strong's definition, to surround, that is, protect or aid, to help. So I'll just say help. So we have here in,
Help in what way? How does that work with the context?
yeah, I'm about to go back to 34 right now.
Help is the wrong word.
Right, because it's already in the context.
Yeah.
So I'll say aided. Would that be better for the context?
I wouldn't say aided. Well, look at the dictionary. In the dictionary, let me go back to it.
Um,
Surround, that is protect or aid.
yeah.
Help, secure. Well, if you're being protected or aided, what are you? You're secured.
Secure, yeah.
So
Okay.
does it mean to protect?
Please check.
In a sense,
Please check.
Yeah. So would aided actually work in this context?
no.
Because it's not assisting in general, right? From the definition.
Right. Okay. So protecting is a better word used.
Yeah, you can't just pick a random word at it. Look at all the words in it and look at how they combine. What image is that giving? If you put all those words together, surround, protect, aid, help, secure. Does that sound like you're just assisting somebody? Or does that sound like you're taking care of somebody?
Taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see what I'm
So,
saying? So you can't
right.
pick one of the words. You got to look at how they all connect. All right, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. So it's pretty much saying that when they fall, that they'll be there to help. I mean, protect and help them out a little.
What?
I'm talking about the church. Um,
Try that again.
Now when they shall fall, they shall be hobbled with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
Mm-hmm.
So
So are they protecting somebody else?
nah, they're being protected.
Exactly. Remember,
Yeah.
you got to take the word into the context, not just take the word period. If the word means to protect, and then what placement is it in the context? They shall be to protect. Would that make sense? No. They shall be protected with a little help. They're the ones being protected. You see what I'm saying? You got to look at the
Yeah.
context with it. That's why I said before, you always start with the context. Then you
Yeah.
go to the Strong's definition. But once you go to the Strong's definition, you jump right back to the context and see how it fits and matches. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they shall be
Protect
protected with a little
protected.
help.
So they should be protected with a little help. And it's also saying how many people would kind of like cling to them with flatteries.
Cleave to them. Is there a comment there?
No, I said cling. I was choosing another word for cleave.
Yeah, but what is that? You're not explaining it by saying to them with flatteries. There's no comma there, so you don't put a pause. Them with flatteries is the person. Who is them with flatteries?
So it's talking about the people who are protecting and helping the church.
No.
They will cleave.
What does the word but mean?
Oh, okay, I see what you're
Generically.
saying. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries. Let me go to the Strongs real quick.
Well, this isn't a Strong's issue. This is a context issue. Somebody brought up in the summary. Who are the ones with flatteries?
Where we're talking about the church.
No.
Why must have didn't hear you?
Okay. Charles, who are they with the flatteries?
Come there we go. Talking about the smooth talkers, right?
Yeah. The smooth talkers of the false church, the Catholic
Oh, wait, aren't they
Church.
of the same people? The smooth talkers in the church? I was just doing
But
a
you said that you just said the
overall.
church. Is the Catholic Church the real church?
No.
So if you say the church, are you talking about the same thing as the
So I got to
Catholic
make that
Church?
distinguishment.
Yeah.
All right. So we're
Because
talking
we are the
about the
church,
false
right?
church, the smooth talkers of the false church with the flattery
There you go.
is the ones that let me go back to 34 real quick. But many shall
Hmm.
cleave to them with flattery. So pretty much many people will cling to them because how smooth talking they are.
No. That's where I said, is there a comma?
No.
Okay, this is a little English lesson. When there is no comma, with flatteries is not a separate depiction. It's not a behavior. They of the sword. Does that mean that of the sword is a separate thing?
Nah.
Exactly. It's describing who they is, right? The
Mm-hmm.
fighters. So them with flatteries, there's no comma there. So when it says cleave to them with flatteries, when we're talking about that, so them with flatteries is one thing, not cleave to them with flatteries, as in that's how they went about it.
I
It's
see what you're
more of a
saying.
it's more of a title than it is an action. You see what I'm saying? Or a description than an action. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries, versus many shall cleave to them with flatteries. It sounds exactly the same, but that distinction makes a massive difference. Them with flatteries is the ones that were flattering. If there was a comma, many will cling to them, comma, with flatteries. Now it's an action and not just part of who they are. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And Charles, do you understand how that worked too?
Yes.
All
There we
right.
go.
Now there are times where that's not always the case, but we did have the context of the people with flatteries, right? Was that an action only, or was that a depiction of the way they went about things? That was a description of how they went about things. All right. And then the big part of how we know that it's not talking about the help that is saying the first part is the word but. Now, when they shall fall, they shall be holpen or secured with a little help, but many shall cleave to them with flatteries. So the ones that are there that are going to be secured is going to be secured with a little bit, even though there's going to be a lot that fall. There's going to be a lot of people that cleave to the ones that were flatterers, to the smooth talkers, in other words. So what is this actually getting at and saying? What's happening here, Thomas? Generically speaking.
So, so some of the people of false church fall, but met with they'll be
You said
protected with a little help. But
the false
you know,
church. Who was it? The
what's that?
false church that was falling?
No, my bad. The Christians.
Yeah. All right, try again.
So we have many of the Christians that will fall, but they'll be protected with help as well. And but on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have people who will end up clinging to them with flatteries.
Don't forget to re-explain, not just read.
Sorry, it's
Who
kind of
are
hard
them
to
with
hear.
flatteries? Who are them with flatteries?
Dude, that there we're talking about the false church, the soothsayers.
There we go.
So we have the
They,
false church would definitely
so
be
we
the flattery,
and then so when you say, but many of them shall cleave to them with flatteries, what is happening?
meaning as in they'd be doing the opposite. So instead of helping, they're on their heads with with the smooth talking, making it seem like this is what's meant to happen. This is what needs to happen.
What?
Did you hear me?
Thomas, what? Say that one more time.
So in regards to the false church, it says, "But many shall cleave to them with flatteries." You said that's a false
Okay.
church, correct? The soothsayers.
Yeah, the flatteries part. Yeah, them with flatteries, yes.
Now, and from my perspective, my understanding, I'm taking it as that's happening to the actual followers, the Christians.
What is happening?
So the Christians are, like it says at the beginning, they're pretty much falling from whatever's going on. And they do have help, but on the opposite side of the situation, they have the people of the false church who are like uh, doing the flatteries regarding to the situation.
You're not looking at the context. What does it mean to cleave?
Is it not clean? Hold on. A perimeter rule to
Yeah. So
properly
you didn't
fly.
bring up them
Yeah.
at all. What does it say? It says many shall cleave to them of the false church. Not that the false church is going to be there. Where did it say that the false church is just there?
Right.
Well,
Hold
no,
on one
right?
second.
Like where does it say that?
Hold on,
You're
hold on,
not
hold on.
paying attention to the context. Come on. Look at the context. What was the last thing I brought up in the summary? Let's start with that.
Sorry, what'd you say?
What is the very last thing I brought up in the summary?
I don't know. I could barely hear it.
Okay, Thomas, if you're going to be able to study, you need to be able to hear. If you can't hear, what do you need to do?
Well, I told you my situation before. It'd be
No. If you can't hear, what do you need to do?
you tell me.
Speak up and let me know you can't hear. How are you supposed to understand what we're getting into if you don't even know what I said in the summary?
Right.
That don't even make sense. Like if I can't hear whenever Charles is speaking or you're speaking and I'm not able to hear you guys, do I just sit there? No, I tell you
No, you can
guys
say
it's
something.
cutting out or something. So why would you just sit there if you can't hear? That don't even make sense. How are you supposed to
Because it was
learn and grow if you can't hear?
it wasn't in its entirety. It was some parts.
Does that okay? So obviously it impacted. You don't even know what I said at the end, right? So does it matter if it's only a couple parts where you can't hear?
No, I guess not.
Yeah, you got to think, bro. We're here to study and grow, but you can't study and grow if you don't hear what I'm saying. And how am I
Yeah.
supposed to know if you can't hear if you don't speak up? All right. So I will restate this part for you. And then, because we've been sitting on this, we'll have to jump ahead if you can't figure it out on this chance. The last thing that we got into in 32 and 33, we ended with 32. The first part was talking about people who were already doing wrong against the covenant were going to be corrupted. But the next part went into that people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. So they're going to do great things. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. So there's going to be a lot of them that are able to instruct. Yet, so regardless of this, they shall fall by the sword and by flame and by captivity and by spoil many days. So going into this part, we're not talking about the ones who are wickedly being taken over by those of the smooth talkers. We're talking about the ones that understood and know God. And then it said that many of them, even still, with there being all these instructors, there are still going to be some that fall by the sword, so they die, by flame, death, by captivity, enslavement, and by spoil, death, or enslavement, many days. So that's where we ended, was talking about the people that actually do know God, not about the people that are part of the false church. We started 32 with talking about the people of the false church, but we ended with talking about the people that were faithful and talking about how of the people that were faithful, a lot of them were going to die or be put into captivity in certain kinds of ways. Then we get to verse 34, and it says, now when they shall fall, okay, so who's the ones that fall? The ones that are even instructing, the ones that understand. They shall be holpen with a little help. As we said with holpen, the better word is protected. So even though they're going to fall, they're going to be protected with a little help. But many shall cleave to them with flatteries. So what is happening there, Thomas?
So even though the people who follow God are falling, they still protected with a little help. But it's saying but a lot of people will like trying to figure out how to put the last part. That's what
All
slipped
right.
me up. Plead to them with flatteries. I'm thinking like in sense of making like fun of them.
What?
Yeah, I don't know how to put the last part. That's what really spurred me up.
All right. Cleave means to cling to cut off things away from, to get closer to. As you leave your father and mother and cleave unto your wife. So cutting off the father and mother connection to cling to the wife. Cleave to them with flatteries. Cutting off the other connections to be with the ones with flatteries. That has nothing to do with making fun of someone. What did we? Who is that? Hello?
There you are.
Yeah,
Can you
it's
hear
my
me?
connection. I don't even hear you. You cut out bad.
Thomas did well before Matt, before you say something, Thomas, did you hear Matt cut off?
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Yeah, I did hear him cut out.
Matt, you were cutting out.
Okay. Give me a second. All right, can you guys hear me okay?
I
Yeah.
can. What about you? Okay, cool. Uh-oh. Oh,
There
yeah.
we
Yeah,
go.
you came
Now it
right
just
back.
reconnected.
I was about to say, you came right back. Okay, cool. You,
Can you
you
guys
sound
hear me
clear.
clearly now? Okay, I just reconnected to the Wi-Fi. Thomas, can you hear
Thomas,
me
you hear?
clearly?
Yeah.
All right, so maybe that was the issue. Thought the Wi-Fi was tripping earlier. Anyways, so Charles, who are them with the flatteries?
The smooth talkers of the false church.
Yeah. So many, even so, there are going to be a lot of people that fall, but they're going to be protected with a little help. But many shall cleave to them with the flatteries. What would that mean then?
Well, that last part would be them just clinging to those smooth, going to those smooth. What we see nowadays with people going to that say claim they follow God, they're going to those smooth talkers of the false church, not just like taking their time with it. They're like holding on to it, defending them, even though they are smooth talkers of a false church, running to and holding on to them. You could use examples of what happened to us.
No, because you're looking at the word cling and not in the sense of cleave. Yes, yes, clingy or clinging could be, but not to cling to. Many shall cleave. We just talked about. Okay, all right. I'm just gonna give you guys the answer. This is enough. All right. So many shall cleave to them with flatteries means that they're gonna leave the real church for the false one. That's what that means. In order to cleave, you're cutting off the outsides, cutting directly to. Yes, cling is technically a word for it, but it's not cling like you're holding tight. It means to reach to cling to. So they're going to leave the real church for the false church. There's going to be a lot of people that leave for the false church. That's all that means. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them and to purge and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for an appointed time. That means there's going to be a lot of people that do have understanding who are going to try to fix them, the ones that are leaving the true church for the false church. That's what that means. They're going to try to save them, even though they're a part of a false church. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. For that is determined shall be done. So, as we said, with what it seems to line up with in confirmation, what church exalts themselves to even be more than the God of gods? The Catholic Church does. The Pope is to be infallible and above, so he's above all these other gods, but then also speaking marvelous things against the God of gods. Did the Pope not say that you could be gay in the Catholic Church and still go to heaven? Well, isn't that speaking a marvelous thing against the God of gods? Yes. So again, backing up the point that it's talking about the Catholic Church here. Then, 37, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any good, for he shall magnify himself above all. Okay.
Any God.
Yeah. Huh?
Nor regard any God. You said good.
Oh, yes, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. So, now again, looking at the Catholic Church, who is the God of their fathers? Charles?
The false ones. Wasn't
No.
Christians. So
Who is
the
it?
gods of the Catholic
Who do they claim
fathers.
they follow? Who do they claim they follow, Charles?
Yeah, Catholic. Yeah, I think they claim they follow Jesus. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
So the God of the fathers is the God of gods, is Yahweh, is Christ. So they're not going to regard the God of their fathers. Again, backing up the point of it being the Catholic Church, because this king that's going to be speaking against all these gods and the God of their fathers, okay, who is the God of gods? That is the God of heaven. That is the Judeo-Christian God. Okay, do the Buddhists, do their fathers worship that God? No. Do the Islamics? No. Do the Egyptians? No. So because all these other religions, their origins do not stem from the God of the Judeo-Christian God, which is the God of gods, therefore, by context, this cannot be a religious king who is of a religious of claim, even from their history, that has nothing to do with the Judeo-Christian God. So if it has to be someone who exalts him above the God of gods and does not seek his God of his fathers and speaks crazy things against the God of gods, there's only one religious system, there's only one kingdom that matches that. And again, that is the Catholic. So now it is 100% confirmed, not even 99. We are talking about the Catholic Church. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and the God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. So even though, well, and we look at that, well, the God of his fathers, the God of forces. Okay, so is the God of his fathers the God of forces then, Thomas?
Just give me, man. I can barely hear anything. I'm gonna have to re-listen to this study.
All right, Charles, did you hear me?
Yes, sir. Next question again.
All right, is the God of forces the God of his fathers?
But then they show you honor the God of forces. Yeah.
Yeah?
I might put it that way.
Okay,
but
the answer is
you
no.
go back.
Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers. It said that in the context. But then in 838, it says, but his state shall honor the God of forces. If you are not regarding the God of your fathers, are you honoring him?
Oh wait, no.
Thank you for not looking at the context again. Now, that is the point. So God of forces is not the God of his fathers. God of forces is a different God. So the God of his fathers can't be the God of forces, whatever false deity that is. So the God of his fathers has to be the God of gods. So again, we look at the Catholic Church. Have you guys looked at all the imagery and who they serve and everything?
Oh,
Huh?
you have we looked at the imagery. I said only what you sent
You're
me,
cutting out,
not
Charles.
much. Thomas, can you hear me? Because I can hear you clearly.
I heard you clearly, but when you start talking just now, you start cutting out.
How's it now?
It's clear now.
So what I was saying with the imagery, I haven't seen much.
Okay. There's a couple things of imagery that come from false gods that are in the Catholic Church. Let me see if I can find one real quick. All right, let's see. I'll have to do this sometime else. Statue of other gods and Catholic buildings.
You still looking up an
All
image?
right, there we go. So in the Vatican, there are multiple pictures or imagery of pagan gods and pagan worship in them. And I'm trying to see if I could. No, no. All right, I'll have to go back through it later so I can find it. It's not a big deal at the moment. But the fact is that it does exist. In Catholic architecture, there are imagery of false gods in them, even though they supposedly follow the one true God. So, again, the God of forces, they do honor. And it's a God who their fathers never knew. And not only is it going to honor it, but they're going to honor it with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. So they're going to be honoring this God. And when we look at the things that the Catholics actually do worship after what they really do go after, there's imagery all over the place, let alone all the times they were willing to take in pagan worship in order to gain territory and power. So again, even more confirmation, we're talking about the Catholic Church here. Now, does anybody have any questions or comments as we go to the second section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Then Charles, go ahead with the second section whenever you're ready.
You got it. You got it. And I'm clear, right? Just
Yeah.
want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, cool, cool. So I'll be reading Daniel chapter 11, verses 39 to 43. Verse 39. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with the strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the and the king of the north against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he
Oh,
shall
you're cutting
enter
out, bro.
and out again. It was
Yeah.
perfect until what happened? Let's try this again. How about now?
I can hear you now.
Why does it? What was the last verse you heard?
I think 40.
I'll reread 40. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter entries and shall overflow and pass over.
There you go
He shall
again.
enter. You couldn't hear 40 either?
No, I mean, I heard where you said right before you got to the word enter. I heard 40. You start cutting out right towards the end of it.
Yeah, it's true. That don't make no sense. I got full bars and I don't know why it's cutting out now all of a sudden.
Are you on 5G or are you on the 4G?
5G UC.
Okay, change it to the 4G.
I still don't know how to do that.
Okay. Go ahead. Remember that it takes more data for some stupid reason for Zoom than it does for anything else.
Yeah. All right, I'm outside the truck. Let me try it again. I'm gonna start with that end at the end of 40. And with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand. And Edom and Moab and the chief of the children of Ammon, he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and of over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. Oh, man. Well, that helps confirm that we were talking about the Catholic Church. Let me go back. We're still on that he portion. This person's still gonna do the most with the strong, as he shall do in the most in the strongholds with the strange God. He's going to increase the glory of this strange God, acknowledge the strange God. He's going to cause other people to rule over many, dividing the land for gain.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Pope right there. Let's divide everybody so we can gain more. Then it talks about at the time of the end, the king of the south is going to take a push or try to, come after him. And the king of the north is going to come after him. The king of the north, they're going to come in like a whirlwind. They're going to go with chariots and horsemen. So they're still going to lose with ships too. Into the country to overflow and pass up. They're still going to lose with this massive army that they're trying to come over like a whirlwind. Let me reread 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land and many countries. Oh, so he's going to go to other lands, overthrow these other lands. It's interesting though. But these shall escape out of his hand. Edom, Moab, and the children of Ammon. I find that very interesting that they got away. They slithered their way out.
Yeah.
Huh. And he's also gonna he shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. So he's gonna take over Egypt. And he's gonna have power over treasures of gold and silver, the nice, the exquisite, precious things of Egypt, and Libya and the Ethiopians will be at his step. I'd still find it interesting. Adam, Moab, and Ammon slithered their way out of this. We'll probably get an answer for that, but possibility we'll get an answer for that. But I really find that interesting in my section.
Exactly. Well, and the thing is too, let me just.
Now, Matt, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you hear all what I was talking about with my
Yes, I
explanation?
did.
I'm gonna stand right here. Okay, Gil, go ahead.
So, according to Islam, some of Islam does derive their lineage from Esau, according to them. Now, we don't know how true that is. However, it is an interesting point that this religion that came years after the fact are supposedly claiming their lineage traces back to that, at least in part, for their claim. So there is a possibility when you look at it. Well, look at all the religions that are truly alive today. Is Buddhism really alive? No. It's a joke. People treat it as like something for fun and funsies. It's not an actual legitimate religion. But Islam is. There are a lot of people that follow that. And if it turns out to be true and they trace their traces back, if that actually is a fact that they trace back through to Esau, among others, then that would be consisting of it backing into Edom being part of that faith. And if you look at that from the children of Ammon, and you look at all these different religions that are actually active today, it would make sense if it traced to that. Now, I'm not saying that that is where it traces. I don't even know if what they claimed was accurate, only that that is part of the claim. And if that did turn out, then it would make sense considering this with the whole splitting up and taking over this land to the south and all that. And then those ones were the ones that survived. It would make sense. Now, going into that last part that you brought up about the land of Egypt is not going to escape, but he'll have power over the treasures of gold and of silver and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. So they're going to be sitting here part of it. They're going to be sitting here trying to have problems pretty much with them. But however, it doesn't seem like it's working out. All right, let me go ahead and go to the next section. Does anybody have any questions or comments about this section? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, then I will go ahead and finish this out with verse 44 and 45. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and utterly to make away many. And he shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So the last part we're getting into for this kingdom, king, which, like we said before, does really line up with the Catholic Church and how it branches out. Look at all these different false Christianities that branch from them. It really does match up with it. But out of the east and out of the north, there's going to be some problems coming to them too. Now, and he's going to go into a great fury to destroy. He's going to go ham about it. But the last part, and he's going to plant tabernacles. Now, Charles, what is a tabernacle? Do you remember?
Place of worship, if you can hear me.
Yep. It's a place of worship. It says between the seas. Well, it's interesting to point out. In the glorious holy mountain. Well, Charles, what's the holy mountain? Do you know?
Don't remember at the moment.
Thomas, do you know what the holy mountain is? There was only one that was claimed to be holy so far.
Is it one where Moses cast down the stone thing?
Yep. Yep.
I
And
forgot
that
the
would
name
be
of it
Mount
though.
Sinai.
Sinai.
Good. Mount Sinai is the only mountain we've ever heard that's holy. So between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his land and none shall help him there. So he's going to be able to set up these tabernacles. We have to do all these things. But yet, after he comes back to his land, he's going to have no help at all. He's going to be on his own. Now, this is given the imagery or depiction for that king or the Catholic Church that they are not going to, there's going to be some point where they're going to be all on their own. Now, normally when something is specified as all on their own, what usually happens next, Charles?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
When they're all on their own, didn't we read about a bunch of kings getting killed some kind of way when they're all by themselves,
Yep.
all on their own?
Every time we've read, or when it goes out of its way to point out that some king was all on their own, or something, somebody was all on their own, they always got taken out. They did not survive. So it seems like when we get into chapter 12, what do you think we're going to be reading about? Charles?
A swift death to this person, the he that plant the tabernacles and the palaces and all that.
Exactly. So it seems like when we get to chapter 12, we'll read about the fall of the Catholic Empire. Well, not empire, but Catholic Church. But as we read before, that Catholic Church, what did we read about before, Thomas? See if you remember. About what happens to them towards the end.
As far as the Catholic Church,
Mm-hmm.
they continue to do their thing until Jesus puts an end to it.
Exactly. So when we read about the church and well, what lined up with the church and what ended up being the end result of it, we read about that fall. It didn't take place till the last of the last days. So we might be getting the way it phrased it here. What are we likely going to get into, Thomas, time frame wise, in chapter 12?
I
Don't
think
forget
you
to
have.
unmute. There you go. Go ahead, Thomas.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
All right, Charles.
End times.
There you go. We're most likely going to be reading into the end times again, because every time we've read about, or when we read about that, what lined up with the Catholic Church, we read about their fall happening at the end. So the most likely next step for chapter 12 from 11 is we're going to be reading about the end times, because that's when it was shown that they would fall. All right. Does that make sense, Thomas?
Yeah.
All right. Now, does anybody have any comments or questions before we go to pray out today's Bible study? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Then I will go ahead and pray us out. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for this day that you've given us to be able to read your word, to be able to understand, and to be able to have everything according to your will. As we go forth in today, we just pray to be able to do a better job in all that we're able to learn, all that we're able to see, and everything we're able to maintain. In your son's holy and precious name, Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
Now, just a heads up, guys, today's Bible listening is from 2 Chronicles chapter 21 through to chapter 33. 2 Chronicles chapter 21 to 33. Ironically, We'll also finish up Daniel tomorrow. And the next listening that pops up ends with Ezra chapter 10. So now that we've had these visions, we're going to go in after tomorrow. We'll be going into Ezekiel, which is the only other book in the middle of the empty time, the time of captivity. So we'll see how it correlates. All right. Everybody, have a wonderful night.